This time on Urban Business Corner, we visit the Ebony B photography studios and sit down with owner and photographer Ebony McKelvey. How you doing, Ebony?
Hi.
Thank you so much for being here, or having me here, right?
You're welcome.
So, how did you get into photography?
Well, I always had a passion for photography since I was a little girl. Capturing moments that you could never get back always intrigued me. When I was younger, my house burned down and all of my pictures as a young girl was lost. So there's no pictures of me until probably about 7 or 8. And knowing that always inspired me to want to capture other people's moments, and ever since then I've always been intrigued by photography.
All right, so now when did you start professionally doing this?
I started professionally doing photography around 2012.
Okay.
When I had my shoe store. My husband purchased my first photography equipment, and I started using my photography equipment in my shoe store after I closed.
Okay.
I started making more money than I was making at the shoe store, which eventually led me to take photography more seriously and open up my own photography studio.
Wonderful. Now, what do you do? Engagement photos, maternity? Tell me a little bit about what you do.
Yes, so right now I specialize in maternity photography, wedding photography, as well as family and professional headshots.
So in addition to the engagement and family photos and services that you provide, you've been doing some exhibits, right?
Yes.
All right,
yes.
so tell me a little bit. I know that there's the Beautiful Ghetto and Hey Ugly, and the third one is
I'm a Queen.
I'm a Queen. So tell me a little bit about your process, or how you even started with the idea of doing these.
Well, I'm a Queen was the first exhibit that I did. It was probably about 4 years ago. What inspired me to do the exhibit was to showcase what I actually can do as a photographer, as well as show the beauty in African American women, show their beauties, because so many times we're portrayed as being ugly or dominant or not as beautiful as what we see on TV and magazines. So I wanted to actually capture the different types of essence of African American women.
Well, I did notice, because I looked through a lot of your exhibits, and it's a lot about empowering women.
Yes.
And
yes.
I mean, they're just absolutely gorgeous.
Thank you.
Tell me a little bit about the Beautiful Ghetto.
So the Beautiful Ghetto was actually birthed by me just going to my grandmother's house.
Okay.
Like every Sunday through Sunday through Thursday, I go visit my grandmother. And one of my friends one day was in front of my grandmother's house, and we were just talking about how people portray the ghetto as being bad, and we started conversating about all the good times we had in the ghetto, like everything that we learned. If it wasn't for different aspects of our life in the ghetto, we wouldn't have been where we were now. So just driving home one day, I was like, you know what, the ghetto is beautiful. Let me figure out a way to capture that. Let me, speak to people that lives in the ghetto, that been in the ghetto all their lives, to see what they actually see as beauty in the ghetto. Mm-hmm. So that's what actually birthed me going out to each ghetto in New Haven and capturing the essence of the ghetto versus the negativity of it.
All right, so you're working on one now.
Yes.
All right, so tell me a little bit about that one.
So this project that I'm working on this year, honestly, it's actually pushing me creatively, because I'm more of a studio photographer. So most of my work is in studio, but I wanted to actually push myself outside of the studio. So the name of this exhibit is called Black Girl. And it's just capturing the beauty of a Black girl in different types of locations.
All right, so
basically.
you're stretching, thinking outside the box.
Yeah.
So I want to switch over to the business side. Now, you mentioned the shoe store earlier, because that's how I met you. I remember that you had this shoe store in New Haven. Mm-hmm. So you've kind of been an entrepreneur for quite a long time, businesswoman, right?
Yeah.
Boss, right? So let's talk about the business. What do you think the hardest thing about being a business owner is?
Well, my challenge was the budgeting aspect of it. And just giving a little background for where I came from, like I wasn't raised on how to budget and how money works. We was just raised on getting money and spending it. So I think my thing was actually budgeting and financing and actually figuring out how to, keep the business running day by day. Most people that run a business or say they want to open up a business, they don't think about that aspect. They think about the glam and the fun part and making money, but it's not that at all. I mean, your first few years, I mean, you're in a negative, Yeah. But I think that was probably my hardest part.
So does the business side kind of intersect with the artistic side?
Not really. I see them as two different things. Like they're two opposite. I mean, once I make it, honestly, I would pray that I could get someone that could just handle the business side and I can just be the artist that I want to be. But as of right now, I'm doing both. And usually one outweighs the other depending on, what part of, the season that I'm in. Okay. Usually around tax time, it's all about the business. Yeah. But then, it's taken away from me being artistic because I'm worrying about the taxes. Okay. But I don't think they really intersect, but I try to keep them separate, right. Just so one doesn't impact the other.
So earlier you mentioned your husband buying you your first piece of equipment. So how do you juggle family life? You have a daughter. Mm-hmm. How do you juggle that with being a business owner? Because I think sometimes, if you're working 9 to 5, when you leave the office, mm-hmm. you leave it there and you can put on the mommy hat. But when you're a business owner, it's kind of just you. So how do you juggle that?
At times it's challenging, only because, when I'm home, it's mommy, wife mode. But then also when I get the email, since it's just me, I have to respond to that email. So for the first few years, I really wasn't actually doing really good at juggling both. It was just, my husband on the back end, my daughter, okay, we'll read later. But now it's like I made priority where it's all about my wife. I mean, it's all about me being a wife. It's all about me being a mom when I'm home. And when everyone is not home, I do my business. Because at the end of the day, I feel that, I am a business owner. I do want to succeed, but at the same time, I feel me being a mom, me being a wife is more important. Yeah. So.
And it's hard to turn that off.
Yeah,
but,
it really
especially
is.
When you're, like you said, the emails, I was talking to a salon owner, mm-hmm. and she said it was like getting out of control trying to respond and having the kids pulling at you and everything, so it's just kind of learning. That's good. So now what kind of advice would you give? Let's see, you're about empowering women, mm-hmm.
specifically
Black women, which mm-hmm. is, kind of the low on the totem pole.
Yeah.
So what would your advice be to someone, specifically a Black woman, mm-hmm. aspiring to start her own business, regardless of what type of business it is?
I would say just do it. Put all your fears aside, all your doubt, and just do it. Because at the end of the day, the worst thing that could happen is that it doesn't work out, but you still have another day to start again.
At least you just try. That
at
seems
least
to be
you
the
just
theme
try.
of everyone. Just go ahead and do it.
Mm-hmm.
So what's next for you? I know you have the exhibit coming up, but mm-hmm. after that, where do you see yourself?
So I hope to eventually, get my work published, because I not only want to just do maternity and weddings, but I want to do, photos that impact people. And I think the way to do that is to get seen in a broader light, or in more people's eyes. So it's me basically doing more photos that I actually love doing. Mm-hmm. Not saying I don't like the maternity and the weddings and things like that, but my passion is doing more editorial, fashion, and basically work like that. So hopefully in the future do stuff like that.
So one more question. Mm-hmm. How did you know that this was your passion?
So it took me some time to figure that out, which was with the shoe store. Okay. I knew I always wanted to own a business. I knew I love fashion, so I was like, hey, I love fashion, I love shoes. let me open up the boutique. However, when I started feeling like the boutique was another job, another 9 to 5, it felt like something was missing. It didn't feel like, oh, this is what I was supposed to be doing. It just didn't feel right. So when my husband, he gave me my first, he purchased my first photography gear, and I started taking clients in the studio, and I'm like, this is it. Like every day, all I wanted to think about was photography, how to get better. It didn't feel like a job. And that's when I figured out, okay, this is my passion. This is what I'm supposed to be doing. I felt that I could do this for free. I don't feel like someone has to pay me to do a picture. I can just do it because this is something I actually love doing. So that's how I figured out that photography was my actual passion.
So I think it's really great when you find something that you love and then you can make money on it. So you are definitely inspiring because I think that's kind of the goal for everyone, to find your passion, and then you can turn that into your income. That's a marvelous thing. Definitely. So if someone wants to find you, see your work, see when your next exhibit is coming out, where can we go?
You can reach me or find me at ebonybphotography.com. That's my website. I'm also on Instagram, Ebony B Photography, as well as Facebook, Ebony B Photography as well.
All right, thank you so much, and I know we're going to see a lot more of you in the future.
Thank you for having me.